My best guess is that everybody is scared of death, whether they realize it or not. I think it's buried very deeply within us. And at one stage, I couldn't access it and didn't think I was scared of it. But through the awakening process, it revealed what was unconscious. And one of the things was, I'm actually scared of dying, or I'm scared of not existing, really. I'm scared there's nothing after death and that I won't exist. And so we access all of these fears that are sometimes unconscious initially through the awakening process, because everything wants to be seen and the truth wants to be shown to us. And so we get to find out the truth about death. And the truth is that it's paradox, like most things with awakening, never clear cut. It wouldn't be that simple. So what happens is we get shown experientially that, of course, the body will die. And it really wants us to face that fact. It really wants us to face the fact that, yes, you are going to die. And you face this through a number of ways. It could be someone close to you getting a terminal diagnosis. It could be you getting sick. It could be someone close to you dying, where you just have to face that everyone dies. Everything in form dies. And it may sound morbid, but it's just the truth of coming into form, is that it always comes to an end. And so we have to face that through the awakening process. Nothing wants to be in hiding, including our fear of death. And we are shown that, yes, it's true, you are going to die. Of course you are. The body is going to die. But also, who you essentially are is untouched by death, and in fact is never really born or die on one level. And so we could call it awareness, we could call it our formless nature, but there is a part to us that is eternal, that we access through the awakening process, and we see for ourselves experientially that is what remains when we're not in form. And so we can imagine that once we are dead, the body is dead, and we are formless again, we will just be resting in our essential formless nature, which is very much alive in its own way, even though it's not in form. And we don't really know what happens once we die, how quickly we reincarnate, or any of how that works, of course. But we get shown through our own experience, through visions and dreams, that there's nothing to be scared of, and that something remains after death. And that is our essential nature, and it's what we are tapping into and then eventually living from as we are going through the awakening process. So we see that's nothing to be scared of. In fact, it feels very delicious to be resting in our empty being. That's nothing to be scared of at all. So what it does is it gets us to face the fear of death and the just the reality that the body will die, to not run from that, to not hide from it, and to know the reality that there's only so far you can go with the fear of death. You can break the psychological fear of it through facing it over and over again by doing things like death meditations, thinking about it, contemplating your own death or people around you, that type of thing. It can work quite a lot in managing the fear. But at the end of the day, when the death is happening, of course, the body may still react, and the fight-flight response may try to fight or try to survive. And that's just normal, because there's just an animal here that is trying to survive. So that will form a part of it. So on a bodily level, there'll always be a survival instinct that kicks in. But a lot of our fear will go through facing our fear of death and what happens. And then we'll also see the paradox, which is that we are also eternal. And on one level, we aren't born, or we don't go through this birth-death cycle. On another level, on our level of our formless self. And that is untouched by any of these stories that we play, any of these characters that we play. No matter how difficult the life was, no matter how damaging it felt, or even traumatic the death, it's all just over in a second, and it's back to reset as emptiness, as existence itself, your eternal nature, untouched by what has happened. So it's really a beautiful discovery. It may sound a little morbid or scary, and it can be at times, but it's once we discover that or face the truth that, yes, we will die and everyone around us will die. And that is a part of the human experience and a part of coming into form, a part of all of this game that is happening here. But on top of that, there is a part of us that also doesn't die. Both are true at the same time. There's a part of us that isn't really born or doesn't really die. And that part will remain post our physical death. And we will get shown that for ourselves. So it's not a belief, it's an experience that you'll be shown through visions, through dreams. And it's truly wonderful. It really helps to ease most of the fear that we have around death. And we can even really be looking forward to the time where we pass on and we get to see, go back to our empty nature and see what happens for us next.